All right, friends, welcome back to part two of chipping away at the backstory of TGR with Tod Johnson.
All right.
I couldn't be a better person to help tell this story. So where were we? We were you guys had
Uh,
decided you're going to the trade show with your briefcase and your
Looking for
official,
sponsors,
yeah, with your
looking to get involved in the industry and like make ourselves known. And so
you got business cards. So obviously
yeah,
you're
we got
serious.
business cards. So we all made it. And then we had the briefcases. And so we're down there. And Todd, Steve, and Dirk, and Corey Gavitt. So Corey Gavitt is from the East Coast. Dirk's from Alaska. Dirk Collins, Tod Jones, Steve Jones, and their brother Jeremy. And so the four of them basically funded and started Teton Gravity Research. It was
With
those,
this money that you guys had all just made from fishing in
yeah,
Alaska that
yeah,
summer.
but they decided to make the leap and buy the camera, and so that's why they became the owners of the
They
TGR.
all chipped in to buy, these four guys chipped in to buy
Yeah,
this. How much was that camera, you think?
like 10 grand or something like that at the time. So it was super expensive, and like I think all the
Wow.
boys went in on it, and no one knew how to shoot it. And so we just kind of passed it off like, here, good luck. It's loaded right. I'm going to go take
And there's
that air.
$100 worth of film in there, so don't
Yeah.
blow it.
Yeah. And it's all intricate, and it's like old school film, like, unwind it. And
Hmm.
you had to go into this pack to load it out in the field, cover up the guy and be like, dark so nothing would hit the film. And so it was
And you
really,
guys don't know how to, you're not filmmakers, you're
oh
little
God,
boys.
we were just, we're shooting from the hip, and like, all right, we're gonna get this. This is how we are, and so we're down in Vegas, and this is before the camera, and no, it was after the camera. We got that all working, and we started getting some roles and started creating some content, say, putting it in the bank, and this company, Backlash Productions, somehow were like, we like your stuff, and we want to give you rolls of film. And we were like, what? And so we all said that was kind of our first thing, sponsor wise. We need film. And so um, we got the film, and we got Backlash, and Backlash put it, and we'd send them the rolls like Targhee, you know, Teton Pass, and they put it together, and they sent it to us, and then we took that footage and put it into these. We got these monitors, and we download it, and then we'd take it and edit it and put it onto a VHS tape. So, and I think we created this song. It was like the Crystal Method, um, the crystal, like the power of the crystal, and it was just like perfect for us, like, you know, we see the earth now, and it's like all this like crazy like tune, like a kind of a, trance kind of vibe or whatever. But it was a great tune, and so we put that all on a VHS tape, and I think it was like the trailer's like what, 3 minutes or something like that, whatever, 4 minutes. And so we had the tape, and you know put it in the briefcase when we get to Vegas, and it's the first day, and the end is always like, oh, all right, everyone let their hair down, let's go and drink some beer at this keg, or and the big thing was Powder Magazine had the biggest gathering of all the superstars. There's Kristen Olmer, there's Tom Day, there's Scott Schmidt, there's Hatrup, there's these guys that we all looked up to. And so we, before that, we were kind of ending the day, and we were out in the lobby and kind of like getting our game plan together as like the boys, and we saw this kid walk by, and he's just this young kid pushing this, you know, TV and a VHS and like a speaker system, and he's dragging everything. We're like, dude, get over here. And he's like, what? What do you mean? Like, come here, like right now. We need to talk to you. And he's like, okay. So he comes over, and we're like, hey, dude, we're gonna give you some money right now to wheel that thing to the Powder Magazine booth at 5:30. Okay. and here's like $40 or whatever it was. And we gave him the cash, and he was like,
Whose idea was that? Is that a
it
Micah?
was kind of all of us. Like, no, it was like Tod, and we needed some guy. And here comes this guy traipsing
You
around.
needed
He's
to like create a
get like a
scene, a buzz.
scene, and here comes the kid, and we're like, dude, wheel it in there. It's gonna be packed. And here he comes, and he's parting the Red Sea. Everyone's like, what's this? What's going on?
And by this time at the trade show, everybody's, like you
in
said, let their
position.
hair
We're in
down. They're
position.
not working anymore. They're all just hanging out and having
Everyone's
their
hanging
first beer of
out.
the
Like,
day.
there's the CEO of Rozzy. There's the head guy of Dina Star. There's the
Yeah.
guy from Bowery and Smith, and everyone's just there because that's where all the ending was, and that's kind of the the zone. So so we see the kid coming in, and it's like the boys, all briefcases still in the hand. We're kind of serious still, and we had a couple beers, but like we're just waiting.
So
for
like
the
I'm
kid.
just trying to picture this. Is it like you don't have suits on, right? Like
No,
are
we're
you
just
wearing
like
like
in.
hoodies with briefcases?
No. Well, we got these new Smith shades with the clear lenses, so we're like superstars with these lenses, and like everyone's like, "Wow, are those new Smiths?" And, yeah, they are actually, and like and we just kind of sporting the new stuff that we got, and so we just got like, we're just hanging out, and like we know it's going to happen, and so here comes the kid, and we see him coming, and I, Jones looks over at Dirk, all the boys are like, here he goes, and he comes in, he sets it all up, and that was our time. And then everyone's like, what are you doing, dude? And it kind of put it in the perfect spot, and it was kind of cleared out in that zone, and sure enough, he sets it all up, and he kind of walked away, and that's when Tod, all the boys kind of walked up together, and we kind of set down our stuff, our briefcases, and Jones pops, boom, his open, and he just grabs the tape and turns on the TV, and everyone's like, what are you doing, dude? And the speakers were kind of loud in that zone. It was kind of cool. And so we popped in the tape, and it took a little minute for everyone to kind of go, what's going on over there? And then that's when it happened, and everyone was like, stopped what they were doing, and they were like, what is this? Who is this? Who are you? What, and this is stuff we put together, and we didn't have to explain it. We just let it play. And it ended up playing, and everyone's like, hit rewind immediately, and played it over and over again. And here comes Glenn Flake, and the hair's like stand up, full mohawk. And he's like, scoot over, boys. I'm going to pop mine in. And like, we kind of were like, dude, sorry, but this is kind of our show. And no, your tape's not going in. And I think one of the boys grabbed it and hucked it over to the side, and was like, oh God, did he really throw that over there? Like, and Flake's like, what do you mean? And it just worked out, and he was gone, and the boys were there, and then everyone gave us, like, people started cheering, and we were like, I think we got it. The light bulb kind of kicked in, and like we won, somehow. Like, so everyone shut it down, boom, the thing went away, and we all tucked it in, and like went back to the hotel, and we got to the hotel, and everyone was like, yeah, like that was it, like, and we all felt great, and we just didn't know how to like keep going with it, and we just started going, and then Micah's thing was on this like desk, where we were kind of all partying around, and we looked at it, and it says Black Gravity Research.
His portfolio.
His portfolio, and it was like a straight up, like it said Black Gravity Research in like these bold letters, and like that.
So basically, he had put all of his images that he had shot with photographers.
Yeah, and he called it Gravity Research. We're testing gravity out there, defying it, like boom, and we're going with it, and we're using it as a tool to flow down the mountain and stuff. So we're like, that's genius, dude. Like,
and Micah's last name is Black, in case.
Black, Micah Black. So we were like, that's the coolest thing, dude. And then I think one of the boys stepped up, and Dirk or Steve or Tod, and they were like, well, why don't we just call it Teton Gravity Research, and we'll go as a team instead of just Micah going Black Gravity, and everyone's like, oh, we were like, yeah, that's it. And so the light bulb came on, and so we just kind of, had a moment, and we were all just soaking it in and cheers in and doing our thing. And we took a minute, and I said, and I think one of the boys like, hey, take a minute, boys. Hey, we great job today, da, 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 as a team, and we started taking that role on, and they were, hey, let's get a half hour here. I want everyone to sketch down a logo of what you think the logo could be, and so we all sat down and like, and then that logo like popped up, and it was like, I think that would be a good call. And so Corey Gavitt took this, and he had some connections, and he put it on a fleece zip up or something, and it was embroidered and stuff. And we got our first shipment and stuff, and then hats and neck gaiters and stuff, and that was it.
And I mean, really, it's still going on today. There are these groups popping up all over. They're like, we're going to make a movie. We're going to band together. We're going to be huge.
Right. That back then there was like 5 pieces of the pie, right? It was Stump, Matchstick, Gaffney from Squaw with Rob D, Walls of Freedom, all that stuff, Kit Delorier, Matty Moo, and Stump, and Warren and stuff. So there was only a few pieces of that select show, and we had entered that, and we knew that. So it was really, it was a groundbreaking kind of a time for us, and empowering for everyone. And that's just what hard work and believing in each other,
Well, it's funny too how it sounds like Powder Magazine was the hub. That was kind of the heart of
back
this
then.
industry.
Well, that's what you wanted to be in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to get in Powder.
It's crazy. It doesn't exist anymore.
I know, it went
Powder
away.
Magazine, yeah.
Powder Magazine, Casimiro, Dave Reddick, handsome as could be. It was like, we all go see Reddick, and we just gained a relationship with all those guys, and yeah, it was just a fun time that went away, like I said, and we were just psyched to be a part of that movement. And
okay, so then what they get enough money to make their first film, which is The Continuum. Is that
yeah, The Continuum. So yeah, then we started shooting, right? So Teton Pass, I think, was the first sesh. It was like the boys in the trees, and we had several different camera guys. I think Bob Webster and Scotty Haw and a couple other guys, and they said they knew how to shoot, and then the footy would come back and be like, dude, that shot was out of focus, and and so it was rough. So we had to go through a learning curve of this whole thing and kind of waste some footy, but backlash was, they were okay with it. They were okay with the process of us messing up and having a bad load. Or
why did they want to help? Were they using this for TV or something?
It transpired like they kind of wanted to gain a relationship with us, and Steve Jones has always been that guy. He's always been the sponsor guy, so he sniffs this out, and
it's all business guy.
Yeah, he's the guy that connects and goes, I need this, or we're going to need that. And and Todd's the field guy, Dirk was the field guy, like in the heli, shooting them, things. And then Siege was like the liaison, the connections of all the East Coast, West Coast, tons of connections, ESPN, this and that. And so he had all this.
Is he the one that his dad owned the Celtics?
Celtic, his vice president of the Celtics, Red Auerbach, and tons of history there with the Celtics and stuff. And so, and he was an incredible athlete, like North Carolina lacrosse, like top athlete, lacrosse player ever back east, during his time. And he wasn't a skier either, like me. So him and I would always go and play basketball together. I'll take you one-on-one. And we always had this nice connection, and he's a great guy. And I reached out to him the other night. We thought about him and just said hi and touch base, because he had some family stuff go on. And so he had to ripcord, but he just kind of had his own thing going on. So slowly, as the years went by, we got better and better. And, these guys kind of wanted to be phased out and stuff like that. So that's long, that's down the line. But, we just kind of all stuck together, And CG had a Saab, you know, the Saab story, the car, and we all loved it. It was like this like mobile like lounge, you know, the leather seats in there. We were like, this is so great. Like we've never been in a car like this, you know. And he comes from a good family and stuff, and so he drove it out there. And boys all had bad rigs, you know, just town cars, you know, and so.
And what was their background? They're from the East Coast.
Yeah, so the Jones boys all grew up back east, Cape Cod, and you know went to Carabasset Valley, and you know did some schooling back then. But Jeremy was always like, I met him when he was like 10, and like the boys claim he didn't talk till he was like 8. Like they thought he was kind of like deaf or mute, like he just kind of didn't talk. And they were like, "Do you say anything?" Like, okay, don't worry about it. Just get in the goal. We're going to fire some shots at you, you know? And, you know, and so the boys would always have like the Jones boys, like is a special family to me. And one of the most rugged families I've ever met in my life. And, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but very just an intriguing family. And I met Jeremy and I was like, dude, I kind of like you, you know, like you kind of seem better than your brothers actually. And, you know, and we hit it off right away. And when I moved to Vail, he was with Cross M with Fawcett and the boys, and he was top racer on the snowboard, you know, Olympics. And he got beat out by his buddy, and he had a bad day or something like that. And he always beat this kid, and the kid went to the Olympics. Jer didn't. And I remember Jeremy just like, yeah, I'm not going to let it bum me out. You know, I'm just going to move on and create something different. And so that's when him and Kreitler created that segment up on the Tusk. And Valdez, like, I don't know, I think it was our second movie or something like that. And yeah, it was just a groundbreaking segment of, you know, I don't think it was a First Descent, I'm not sure, but it was just a really crazy time. And Jeremy ended up coming in with us and you know, riding and being, you know, took Jones Snowboard, which is a $12 million company or whatever. So, yeah. But if the Jones boys, they're savage.
Yeah, what was it like for them to grow up? What were their parents like?
Well, we call him Senior and Stephen Jones, and so it's Stephen Jones, and so all the boys just call him Senior, and he's great. Like, and his wife, his you know, his wife, Senior's wife, Linda Jones, unbelievable. Like, but Senior's like the boys, like nothing phases them, you know, like we're still here. We're still going to get it done. We're still doing this. You know, they just kind of tough their way through everything, you know, hard knocks, toughness. Like that's just the Jones boys, you know, it's this true, we used to say true grit, you know, like, you know, that's just true grit. You know, the boys are still just gritty and tough, and they always believe in the right thing, you know, and they instilled that in us. You know, I learned so much from them in just doing the right thing and being hardworking and following through on your word. You know, that's the biggest thing with those guys. Never letting people down, staying true to your friends and family, and you know, and that's why TGR is a family to us, because we wouldn't go home at Christmas. We didn't have enough money to fly to go back to see our families, so we always had Christmas or Thanksgiving, and it was like a potluck. But if you didn't bring anything, it was kind of a tough luck. So you'd have to contribute, like, and the boys always had this tradition of like, you got to wear a tie at Thanksgiving, or you know, whatever. We'd always have this cool family, you know, something's burning over there, like get it, you know, like, and it was always kind of a melee, but it worked out. And so that's how Tight Loose became a saying that we, you know, embodied and stuff. And so anyway, but yeah, once that movie, that Continuum, came out and people saw it, then that's when everything kind of took off. And it didn't get corporate until about the 5th movie, you know, like we were all still the boys in the editing bay drinking Jack Daniels and like, oh God, that's a great shot, throw that one in there. And oh, you missed the edit. Todd, get that one back. And Todd was the editor, So we'd yell at Todd, like, Todd, no, no, no. And so all the boys had all this input. And we're just sitting there like, yeah, that was the shot. That's the one. And that's how we'd make the movies. We'd stay up till like 4 a.m. and go and edit the movies and get our work done and go home, get up, ski, get back in there, work. And, it was a tireless effort, work, doing our jobs and having our show and staying true. And it's just a cool ride. And eventually things started getting bigger and bigger, got the office, got the, the skis and the sponsors and all the money started coming in. And then it, but it took a long time to get there.
How much money you think?
To run the show?
At the peak, like, what do you think they were bringing in? Because, like, that's when skiing actually had money, was like.
Right. So, like, I guess the boys were making, like, not T. Rice, like, numbers and stuff like that. Or it wasn't that big, but, like, it was getting there. But, the boys didn't really care about money. We just cared about the vibe,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we didn't really care about that, but we needed to travel, and do stuff and be handled. And so we'd reach out to the guy in Italy, and then he had a heli, and all of a sudden they wanted to stay in the hotel, and then everything's free, and and it just starts. And we'd go to the bank, and this lady would always be like, "Oh, here comes Peter Pan here," Micah walks in, and he's, "Oh yeah, ladies," and he'd throw the check on there, and she'd be like, "Where are you off to next?" And he'd be like, "Well," and just kind of like, we just took it with like, it's a joke, but people just had told us all the time. We'd go to work, and they'd be like, "Are you guys done yet? You guys done believing in that? Like, it's going to be time to kind of grow up and get the job, and just cut that out." And so we were like, "What do you mean? Like, now we're going to work harder, and now we're going to, any naysayer that you can't do it. You get that in your life and stuff, where people kind of doubt you or whatever. You just got to keep grinding, So,
well, I think it also helps when you have a crew and it's not just you against the world.
And we'd always say, power number, boys, everyone together over here, boom, and they couldn't handle the vibe. They'd be like, this is too heavy, and these guys are actually pretty good. And so this was, it was a power in numbers, and that's why we stuck together. And we, anyone that was kind of involved, we kind of saw them, and we were like, that would be a great guy or girl to add to the mix. Victoria Jealous, Jalous, and
tell me about bringing her on.
Oh, just we'd see her, but she was Mike Hatchett, and Mike Hatchett was, he had the sick movie, and Todd learned a lot from Mike Hatchett, and so just different athletes that we saw that would fit our mold, and we'd invite on a shoot or something like that. But
that's who I wanted to be like, Victoria.
Oh, she was, and it's just all about the charisma, right? And you have that, and you've always had that, and it's part of being a pro and being an athlete and being kind of like where someone could market you, right? And you have to have that charisma and that gregarious vibe, or it just doesn't.
You got to be able to take a lot of shit too.
You do. You got to be tough.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get the stuff like from people, but like you said, you got to kind of go with it and just keep working and work through that. Showing up, right? Hardest part's getting there.
Oh, every time.
Every time.
Okay, so like, take me through. So you said about 5 movies in is when they started like really moving,
right?
Like
things were starting to change, like budget. Our we were having chalkboards of like the writing boards of like where we're gonna think about filming, like Morocco or this or that. We started like figuring out like how the movie's gonna be broken down, and we started doing that better rather than just kind of winging it.
And what about music? What were you guys doing for music?
Oh, and so we started calling or asking these people, and music was a tough thing. Like we'd have to get an up and coming person like Incubus. When they played for Harvest at the Moose, Incubus was became huge, and the Dead, you know, and meeting Metallica, and like, you know, Micah befriended all these guys, and you know, Todd and Steve, and Todd was the music guy. Todd would always write him letters and say, can we use this song, or can we have clearance? Can we get a copyright? Da 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 da. And so you had to go through all this stuff. So Steve was the sponsor, and then Todd was the editor, music guy. Like, and so the music was a big choice. And the boys are always been like lyric guys. Like, I mean, how did you know the lyrics of that song? Like, I cannot think of the lyrics ever. And Jones over there singing it like he knows that, you know. And those guys were really good at all that. So they knew music their whole lives. The Grateful Dead had inspired them. And, you know,
what do you think was motivating them? You know, there's nobody saying like, hey, you know, go hunt down this music, or go, you know, learn how to use this camera. Where do you feel like that motivation
this movie, I think it was like Hannibal or something like that, or where the guy's like just rough in the jail, like, and he's just, you know, going through all these hard times, and he's still here, and just the toughness of that was a big thing. And you know, we had these movies like Countryman and Rockers and stuff like that. We also called ourselves the Rockers, like the jean shorts and the, you know, the bamboo and the full tribe, and like, you know, didn't have much, but we took advantage of what we had, and we'd watch those movies all the time. Like, look at how that guy's carrying that bowl. Like, oh God, he's, you know, working over there, chipping away. And we just loved the guy that was raw and tough, and like, he didn't have anything, but he was still there busting it, you know? And so we always kind of prided ourselves in not having anything, but we were going to get it done. And, yeah. And so when we shot Uprising, we all went to this guy called Spo, Scott Esposito. We went to Tortola, British Virgin Islands. And Spo owned, he like ran the whole marina. It's called the Key Marina. And that's where Cheeseburger in Paradise, Jimmy Buffett, and the boys love Buffett and all that stuff. And so we got down there, and Spo put us in this condo, and we all got this 52-foot catamaran we rented for like a week. And we had this sick guy, like he looked like Bob Marley, like the dreads. He was our captain. We were like, he's our guy. No way. You know, and he's like this little skinny guy, but he was just like this sick. He knew all the depths of the ocean down there in the Caribbean and stuff. So that's where we shot the opening of Uprising. Now, like when I started Harvest and Todd and I were shooting, like we used to do our own skits. Like we always would shoot the skit like, okay, let's get Dave Miller's old paint rags and wrap them around the guy, and we're tribe guys, and we got the drums over there, and Vic, he's playing the drums, and like we get all the locals to chip in, and we get the fire going and stoke the fire. All right, now stoke it, and we dance around the thing, and so we just had all these sick ideas like that would just come together, and then we went to Tortola and working on this opening of the SEG, and after Harvest, like with the guy being dried, and he's like looking for the snow or looking for something, and then he just comes over, and the vultures are around, and I just collapse, and you know, Todd made me shoot that thing like 10 times, like you know, blood on the knees. I'm like, dude, can we just finish? Like, did we get the shot yet? Like, no, I need one more. You know, go. Okay. Yeah, I got to get this angle, and you know, it's just, you know, and so we just kept grinding, and so we got that, and that worked out, and then we were like, maybe this year we'll switch it up. We'll be stuck out at sea where we have too much water. Now we need land or something, you know, and we created this raft, and, you know, and I'm out there just laying on the raft. We brought the same clothes from Harvest, and you know, just.
So it's just a beautiful creative outlet with your buddies,
Yeah.
and then a commitment and determination to like really make something of it.
Yeah. Totally.
Beautiful.
And it was just one of those times where it was still lawless, you know. Everything was kind of, there's no cameras.
But were you feeling like competition from these other filmmakers also?
Yeah.
Like Matchstick is coming up, and
yeah.
How did all that play?
We didn't say that to anyone, but we had that in our hearts. We were like, all right, who's going to get movie of the year? Or, you know, but we knew we had the better team, you know. We just had better athletes because it was a team and a family, and we just knew we could excel better naturally. And, you know, we didn't ever get mad at them or not. It wasn't a vibe of like, I'm against you. We worked together. We saw those guys. We always were cordial and nice and friends and just part of the industry. And
but if they didn't exist, you might not have worked as hard.
right, we kind of needed to pass and like feel like we were the guys that had the best stuff. And so that was our ultimate. Even if they were there, we wanted to be better than Stump, better than Warren, better than the guys before.
And does that also mean like we're going to go bigger? Our athletes are going to go bigger, do gnarlier stuff? Or like, how did
no, it was just naturally. It was just naturally like it wasn't said, but it just happened. And Tod,
well, there's kind of an expectation, right? Like there's a vision.
Yeah, vision, total vision. But it was all like, it was no pressure. It was more like, I trust you. That's why I chose you. That's why you're on the team. That's why we gave you that show. We got you here and you're on now.
So talk about that. Talk about how you got chosen. Cause I've only heard about tap. Yeah. Like,
yeah, if you get the shoulder tap, like, okay, yeah, we might need you tomorrow morning. And like, if you get the shoulder tap, it's on, and we'd have our select guys that, and Tod and Steve and Dirk, those guys would make that call. But it would all be of a family. Like it would kind of, I don't know, it was just a natural chemistry that we had that maybe we had with that person that we knew we could have or something. And that person worked hard. That guy had nothing. He came from this and he came from that, but now he's this. And so we grabbed those type people and that fit our mold, and we just kind of went for it, and it worked out always with our guys. Maybe that as it got more business, it just becomes more professional. And like if that company doesn't commit and contribute, then that athlete might not be on, unfortunately, even though we kind of want them, but they just have other sponsors that are not our sponsors. So we had to be loyal and stay true and stay the course. So
yeah, talk about some of those challenges that people might not know about behind the scenes that the business part that makes it so it could be
the
pretty.
Office was like you'd come in there and it would just be like, there's Tod and Steve's office. It was Tod and Dirk, and then Steve had his, and then Siege has his, and then Janine was like, as we got gear and all this kind of stuff that we started putting out there, it just became more and more, we need more guys. And so we wouldn't pay anyone. And that was our thing. We'd be like, people would just be knocking at the door going, is there a possibility I can get a job? Intern? Yep. Perfect. Get over here. We're going to need you to see that trash can, take that garbage out. It's right there behind the thing, down the stairs, and we'll start there. And, and we just start them at the lowest level, and they'd be like, all right, dude, get in this here. We're going to need you to go with Chad Jackson, and he's going to do this, and go with Hootie and this and that. And then all these guys started showing up and contributing, generational progress. So younger people started coming up, and the athletes started getting better. So some of the older guys like me and whatever, like, okay, I'm going to go behind the film. I'll go edit. I'm going to still be a part of the team, but I'm not doing the lines anymore or whatever. We got the 3 fills. We got Candide. We got, just certain people that whatever we were wanting to, get together with. And we just started seeing this progression of these kids in the youth, the Collins brothers from Salt Lake, Chris Collins and spacing his brother's name, but yeah, and just random guys from Squaw and stuff like that. So, but the business side was hard, but we pulled it off, like getting sponsors, Kokanee, or seeing like that fit would be perfect for us. And as we got bigger, we needed more leverage, and we got that leverage through all the other stuff we created. And it's been Steve Jones has worked his ass off doing all that stuff, Tod, and learning the new cameras and always progressing to that next level. Dirk Collins, he was always Todd's sidekick in the field, and so getting all the radios and stuff, and showing up. And then there was this job called the pod guy. If you could carry the pod, you just have it on your back skiing around with Tod. He's like, over here, and
That's
I'd be the pod
tripod.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tripod.
They're heavy
Tripod.
and
the cluster they didn't
bulky
fit on the back that great. And so whoever, like the pod guy was a great in to get in on the team, the field, and have the radios and stuff. And we had this channel 151 100, and that was our channel on the Kenwoods, and got radios given to us and stuff like that. So we started, having more field connections and called them Barbie shots, like when the guy would be way out far with the big lens. It's like a barbecue going on. He's got the lens like, yeah, I'm ready over here, and he's so deep, but it's going to be the sick wide angle and stuff. And so
tell me about the story of how you once saved Tod Jones.
Yeah. So it was a deep POW day or something like that. And we all knew like it was like an air fest was going to happen. So, we all got up on the hill and there was just the boys all ski together in wrap packs, we called it. Like, all right, you'd see the boys like, and you just start shredding, and the boys come to a cliff and everyone sash it. And so I was on this lift going up Thunder, and I see the boys lining up over there. I'm like, oh, watch this. Here we go. And Tom Winter I was with, and he used to work for Powder and Bike Magazine. And I was riding up with him, and I saw this guy hit this air, and I'm like, God, that was a nice line, wasn't it? And he goes, oh, man, that was like, really big. And he straight lined it. And I'm like, but he's not getting up. I keep looking over there. I'm like coming up Thunder, and these trees are kind of getting in my way. I'm just like looking. I'm like, he's still not skiing out, dude. Like, I was kind of getting worried. And I'm like, something was inside me, like going, I need to get over there.
Wow.
It was calling, like it was a gut instinct. I was like, I could have went to sublet and been like, it was like third run of the day or something, like down the Grand sub,
So they had been coming from sublet and hitting those airs. Yeah.
They were up and they were already over at the expert shoots. And I saw him air, and I was just like, wow, that was cool. And then I didn't get up, and I'm like, he's still not like skiing out of it, and I'm just like, I got to get it, man. So we got off the lift, and it was a total, no one goes over underneath Insomnia, as early, because there's nothing really, it's not that much down by, what do they call it? Broken goggle or something, all that stuff over there. Yeah. And so it was like tons of powder to get over there. And it took me like 3 minutes, I think, or whatever. It took me a little bit to kind of go, and I had to sidestep up. And we got over there, and the boys were just getting ready to, okay, here comes the next guy. And I was like, and I remember it was like Alex Romaine or something like that, the Romaine brothers. And I'm like, dude, hold up, dude. And I looked down, and I see this Rosignol boot that the boys just got. They just started going with Rosignol. And I was like, that's one of the boys. And so I yelled at Tom. I said, dude, get your shovel out. Let's go. We got it, And I just started, frantically just putting my life link together. Like, boom, got it, started digging, and got him, created the air pocket, and like, boom, all of a sudden there's Tod, totally purple, like, just like barely coming around. Like, so
he had just plugged, he'd hit the big air and just plugged.
Had no register. It was so deep that it was like he just wallowed in. And he remembers telling me, he goes, man, I remember thinking it was just really peaceful, and I felt like I was going out, like just go to sleep. And that's when the boys hit him and like, dude, you're all right. Yeah, but we got you. And then we just kind of eased him out, and boom, he sat up, and he was just fully stun gunned, like, whoa, just, coughing, and his face, his lips were purple. And I was like, dude, you got to go down. You're done for the day. You can't, you like light oxygen deprivation to the brain and the whole deal. And we were just like, that was serious. And we made a couple of the boys ski down with him, make sure he got down. And at the end of the day, he was sitting there by the fire. He's just like, kind of just like bewildered, like, what happened? And I can't believe that the boys saved me. And, that's just the epitome of TGR is, I write it in my journal. Like, I think it's like remember it was like December 3rd or something like that of 91. Oh yeah, here it is. It's like, oh, it says, my day started out wonderfully. Woke up to pure dumpage outside. The snow was falling at such a good rate. All I could think about of the season to be the endless tram rides, the brotherhood of the boys, and the endless amount of adrenaline rushes. We're all addicted to it. Adrenaline, that is. That's why we always test ourselves. Definitely can't live in a rubber world. You have to go out and actually do something to stir you up inside, make you crazy. I just wrote that, but and that was just kind of like those are the moments that we write down back in the day and remember the most is we do it for the boys, and like he would do it for me and I would do it for him, and that's just how we operated. That's the epitome of TGR right there.
Yeah, but you also knew you were pioneering something. It wasn't like
Right.
you were following a mold. You guys were making it up,
Right.
and you knew that there was something special to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what made it so.
Is that the only scary story? Are there any other scary
Oh,
stories?
oh well, that I think the continuum is, and it aired on NBC was when we called it like I think it was Targhee, and we went over there, and I remember leaving the boys' house that morning. It was like 6 a.m. or something like that. We got in the truck. It was so cold, but it was beautiful snow, and we knew something special was going to happen. So we got over to Targhee, and that was the Huck Fest. Like all the boys picking lines, like candy, get in the candy store, like that's mine. Boom, I'm going to go up and hit
Is that
that.
the first time people had hit
That
those
was
big cliffs?
continuum when those airs, like where the boys are all airing in together, and we're all choosing these lines, and it's like just crazy. And it was like at Tattersall going off, and light slough, and then that's when Tod came into this one line in this one zone. And I remember he came in, he made one turn, he went like this and this, and the whole thing went goof, dinner plate, like bam, like gone, like, and he just was like, and just hung on, thing whipped him over the cliff, and he survived, like, but we all went in, and like I remember Dirk and Michael were airing, and we were like, well, that's when the boys were airing in to go save them, and we made up a story that it wasn't that was happening, but we just kind of went with it and edited it that way, and it was Tod, and that ended up people like calling us like, hey, can we use that footage, like, and so that was kind of our big break during the continuum. That's got us on the map, and it was that avalanche, and all the boys were like sitting around the top looking in, like, okay, he's going for it, keep an eye on him, and he went in, and that was our first like avalanche, like scary, kind of like, whoa, wake up call, like pay attention here.
But it always kind of worked out.
It did, and it still does, and we just feel lucky to come to this place at the right time, right? It was a timing thing, like
For sure.
kind of all met.
Was there ever a time when they were like, oh, it's or you guys were like, we got to shut it down, it's not working, and there was hesitation?
Never, not once, ever. That never crossed our mind once, ever. It was always like, we're going forward, and that's the vision of the Joneses and Dirk and Corey, and
doesn't matter what kind of ski season we're having, we're still gonna make a sick movie, and
we're gonna grind and keep going and producing, and nothing. But we just didn't think that way. We didn't. There was no ending. There was no start. It was just like, this is gonna be us. It's gonna be our life.
And so, what is it now? Like you said, Kai. I mean,
so we move on.
This is like 2 generations now.
It's generational progression, and Kai is like, he's like, he's perfect for the kids right now. He's 15, 16 years old.
And how did he kind of get brought? I'm curious, like how he changed, Tod and the lifestyle, or did he? And like that whole story of him.
It was. I don't know the whole story of how Kai actually like started, and I don't know. And I never saw Kai being like that guy. Like I'd see him, and I always knew Kai, and then Shelly and Todd had Cam Ryder, and um,
And tell me about Shelly too. Like she's
oh,
pretty
just
special.
a super mom. Like,
And how did she come into the picture and everything?
well, the Jones boys have these rad women like as their wives that I call them like the Charlie's Angels. There's like these three, like Tiff and Shelly and Annie. It's like,
Mhm.
and the Jones boys never. It's not a I'm leaving you type ever. It's always a solid show, and we're gonna have hard times. We're gonna have ups and downs and this and that, but we're gonna be together. And that's the trueness of the boys and the trueness of the Jones boys. And they just have these super wives that they know their husbands are who they are, and they just support them with so much love and
I'm
support.
gonna
And
get Shelly on this podcast.
she's great. She is such a
What a
fire
rad mom, huh?
cracker. Yeah. Like, and so he was the hardest guy to deal with. Like, everyone's like, oh God, here he comes. Steer over here, like cut by him, we called it, just like try not to look over there, And so, and like I said, we had these stories where he'd be in his boots until 7 to 8 at night, like at the bar. You're like, dude, take your boots off. You're making me feel uncomfortable. Like, I can't, and he's like, well, how much air did you catch today? Tell me what you did. How rad did you get? And that was kind of like, okay, I'm moving on to the next side. You didn't have enough good enough story. And then you go on to the next side and barge in, and everyone's like, oh God, here he comes, And he always just had this fire, and he was the middle child, and so Steve's always been like the dialed calculator. He was here first. And but yeah, Todd has had this little energy about him that just pushed us all, He kind of pushed us as we got going. Like, wouldn't settle for let's do that little simple line over there. No, well, how about that bigger one over there? That's hard to get to. Yep, exactly. Let's go get it, and so things like that transpire. But Kai, I don't know how it unfolded for him to start. His dad probably, just editing and cameras laying out, and um, you know, getting up and going to ski, and that's just how the boys were. If you took a day off back then, they were like, "What are you doing?" What do you mean you're watching football? We've got to ski, And, no, dude, I'm taking the day off. I'm gonna stoke the fire, and I'm gonna, do this and do that, do some, errands, make some food or whatever. And they're like, and it was just one of those things. And then you're sitting there going, God, I should have went to the hill, like, like. So it was just that kind of energy that pushed everyone to be better and keep going and, show up, like I said.
What do you think their biggest challenges are now? With there's so much more competition. Cameras have gotten, so accessible. Everybody's
Hmm.
making movies. What do you think it's like now?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I mean, as far as not being in house all the time, it's just so much bigger operational
Mhm.
wise.
Mhm.
People are getting paid more. There's more logistics. There's more top tier guys. There's more sponsors of ownership and things like that. So everyone just, it's business as usual is what we call it. So we just kind of keep going on that and let everything kind of work itself out. Never really worry or overthink. It just kind of comes to the guys. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but we just don't really worry about stuff like that. They don't do that. Like, the Jones boys just don't worry about stuff. They just don't let it bother them, and they just kind of just stuff comes to them, and they think of stuff, and they get
When you say stuff comes from you mean like these
ideas,
little
shoots,
these little
stashes. Where, like, Kai, I remember Todd sending me the footage that he got. It was like 20 below or something like that, and they took the snowmobiles down to like Star Valley or something like that, in this little zone. And he sent me the footage of like raw footage, and he was like, "Dude, check this out." And I got it, and I was like, looking at him like, "Wow, that's Kai," And he goes, "Dude, I think he's our best guy now." And I was like, that's impressive, dude. Like I can't even. And then I saw him in the movie this year, and he just looked like the guy, like the best guy.
I was saying that last year. I was
I
like,
know.
I thought
And
he was peaking last year. It was
but he
amazing.
just got better this year. He was up
Mhm.
early. He was working hard. He dedicated. And I tell Kai this all the time. I'm just like, dude, I'm just so impressed by how you were motivated this year, and and that motivates his dad. And his dad could be like, oh, you go shoot him, or get the other guy to get out there. Then Todd's up early, get the cameras ready. He's always been like that, and now it's his son, so his son's pushing him and motivating him. And I just talked to him today. They're in New York City. I'm like, where are you guys at? The Rockefeller or something like that. And he goes, I don't know where we are actually, but we're in this cool place. And
Like doing shows there on the road with the
yeah, they're
show.
New York City and Boston have always been like the the heavy zones where it's fun and like there's it feels like electric
Yeah,
and
share some of that of like taking the film on the road and these and feeling like
yeah.
rock
So we started
stars.
the film tour, right? And that was always some guy's job. Like, and so we created the film tour, and I think Hudasco
Mhm.
and Chad Jackson were involved with that at the start or whatever. But that progressed as we got bigger. We just started doing film tours. Like we're going to stop in Big Sky. We're going to stop in Salt Lake. And I remember like when Tanner Hall, like when we first Tanner Hall was on our show when he was a little kid, like short shag, and like he was like
Mhm.
shirt off at Beartooth Pass with Todd,
Mhm.
and I remember the first debut we had down in Park City or something like that, and we were putting on the movie, and his mom came up to us and she was like, I just love you guys. I want to thank you so much for teaching Tanner and taking him under your wing. And this was before he had been filmed ever. We just kind of saw it, and we were like, we need to film that kid,
Wow.
And yeah, so and then now Tanner Hall's one of the biggest athletes in the world, like as far as skiing, X Games, this that
Yeah.
progression. Um, he was just a little kid, man. I remember he was just this little skinny guy, and like, but he looked gorgeous in the air, and he was doing all these like cool progressive tricks, and it's just natural that the boys ran into him, and then he ended up doing his thing. He just got big enough to where he went on his own.
Huge.
So
Yeah.
so
Again, timing, I think. It's
yeah,
it's amazing how the sport is such a beautiful outlet, especially for young boys to put some of that angst and aggression and chemicals that
yeah,
you
ADHD
naturally
flying
don't
and
know what
stuff.
to do
Yeah,
with and get them out in a healthy way. It's
right.
sometimes a little dangerous, but a lot better than all the drugs and whatnot that
Yeah,
when you're living in Detroit or where
right.
else that
You have an
it's so
outlet, the
easy.
hill.
Yeah.
We always would be like, the party's not at that bar. It's party's on the hill.
Hmm.
And that's always like one of the sayings of the boys is like, you know what, the party's on the hill, dude. It's not here. It's not gonna. And we would even, we'd get as we were younger, but then it progressed to be like, that's where the real party is. Like we're gonna get
Hmm.
it done out there.
Hmm.
But like you said, I think it's really a good outlet for the youth, and it's important to.
How talk about getting dropped
Oh,
because they've been through so many.
athletes and stuff. Well, that comes down to it's a business at that point, But back in the day, it wasn't a big deal. Like 45%. And when I read it in a Powder magazine the other day, that was an older one. It was like, we didn't have social media. It wasn't an outlet where I could show you or Rozzy and promote my my career, right? And so you had to go with TGR to get a sponsor like Rozzy and to get
Totally.
50 grand or whatever. And then, to collect all this, to get, it was like a platform or a stage that they knew was legitimate. You're going with
Mhm.
Matchstick? Okay, here's three
Mhm.
grand. You go into AK, there's that. Bam. Okay. And
Mhm.
so back then it was a platform to, progress like your career.
Mhm.
Like if you're going to
Yeah.
be a big skier, then you needed to be with TGR.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
somehow
if you didn't have that, yeah,
if you
if
didn't have
you're
that
not
backing, then you might not have that leverage when you go in for that meeting and you pitch your contract or whatever.
mhm.
So back then it was there was no social media, so you had to work with someone like that. And so everyone was scratching around to be like, all right, I need to be on TGR somehow. Is there a way? Is there And Matchstick was hard to get into because they had McConkey and Schley and Seth and all these radical dude TJ or JT Holmes and like these base jumpers and stuff like that, right? And we had Eric Roner and guys like Jamie Pierre off the backside of the gi has set the biggest air record back.
What do you think it was with some of these guys early in the morning when it was time to like do the big air? Like, what do you think separated?
Yeah, it's just from like just like
kind of explain what it's like to like.
It's coming.
You hear
can't
about
sleep.
the glory and whatnot, but
Right.
you got to do something terrifying.
Totally. And that feeling, like you just kind of have that, like when you go into the Tetons and you're going up some peak or going on some mission, you're like, can't really sleep. You're kind of like anxiety setting in a little and you don't know what's going to happen, but you can do it and you're confident, but that you got to perform. You got to take that. You got to do this. You got to show and throw down, we call it, and that's just it's a mental thing that you have to, really just lock in and visualize, like doing whatever you're going to do. Visualization is key, and preparation makes success. The better prepared you are, the better the outcome. So being prepared, being trained, being physically fit, skiing at Jackson every day. That's why the training ground, that's why the big skiers came here, because you get the vertical in and you train your body and take the airs. You take the 10, the 20, the 30 and build these up. And as an athlete, you just got to work your way up. But watching your career has been fun. I got to say that. And I never really knew you, but the women like really stepped it up, and it's been fun to watch that progression of the woman athlete, like throwing down harder than the guys too. It's like it's not a separation. It's just where we are who we are, and it's not like, oh, she's a girl, she can't do it, or he's it's like, these are athletes, these are pro athletes, these guys are prepared. You're prepared. You've worked for this your whole life and trained for this, and now it's time to show it. And that was just kind of how it unfolded for everyone, I think.
Well, and you've got a whole brotherhood of dudes being like, go up there and jump off something. So you gotta
totally hungover. Okay, you ready up there? No, not really, but okay, let me kick the skis off here. Yeah, just that confidence and that togetherness like really made it easy to get out there.
Yeah. What a beautiful impact.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's like what we all wanted from the whole thing. Is just, I think we're like, what, we want to be the best, and we want to impact the youth, the next kids, the next person, the next, because John Hunt, Bartlett, Ty Vanderpool, Ted Shred, all these guys impacted us. And then
I mean, what do you say in terms of like the biggest things that you've learned for, your boys coming up or in life? Like what do you think is kind of the big message that you've behind all this?
Just love what you do, and you'll be just fine. It'll work out. If you don't love what you're doing, then find what you love and go do it. Like I think that's a nice recipe for a job, a career, a path that you might want to go on, or an adventure, or just love kind of what you do and just really take pride in it and have passion, and that'll come naturally if you love something.
Yeah, it's
I was listening to Kobe Bryant recently and just kind of getting off his motivational stuff, and one guy asked me, he's like, what separates all the guys that are all the great ones, and he's just like, love. It's not rocket science, it's just love. We love what we do, and that's just it exemplifies, us and you and people that do what they do, and because you love it, and that's what makes you show up every day and work hard and
keep showing up. Mm-hmm,
yeah,
sure. Mm-hmm.
It's he said something like, what's greatness to you? And he's like, what real greatness is inspiring someone and then having that person inspire another person. Right? That's like true greatness. If you can pass that on, share that. And you're seeing that now, like when you go out and teach someone, and you saw that last year, kind of.
Yeah. That's what we're all hoping for. It seems like
to make
things
that
have,
transition from being like a pro and to a mom to to a family, and how do I stay in the industry and keep my boots on, and the transitions are being the pro athlete in the moment, and then how are you going to go afterwards.
yeah, I don't know. I've still got some things that are still calling, some big
Oh yeah, so yeah,
big
that's
projects that are still calling, and that's kind of
always
uh it's nice to see. I assumed that when I had a kid I would get over it. I'd
no,
grow out of
that
that,
never. It's
because
in this
everyone's like, "Are
life.
you gonna grow up yet? Are you gonna grow out of that yet?" And so I always assumed that I would, like, I'd
Oh,
hit, tick
it's
off
not.
all my lists, and then I'd be good.
What, sit in a chair and just
Mhm.
and just settle
Yeah, no.
down.
I
I,
think it's once you've had that taste and you know how alive you can feel,
Mhm.
then yeah, it doesn't stop, and that's actually pretty exciting. But what's funny though is that now that I'm a mom, there are those judgments. It's like, "Oh, you're moving on now, right?" It's like,
Right.
"I thought I was,
Um,
but it's still
right. You're
calling."
just more selective.
Yeah, now I'm just like, I just have to just actually do it, like, not no hesitation, but like zero potential things can
Risk.
go wrong.
Right.
Exactly. But
Right.
it
So
doesn't
you're
mean I
you're
don't wanna go send.
right. It's more calculated
Yeah,
and
exactly.
not
Exactly.
as like risky, but it is risky, but
But
like you
that's how you
choose.
feel alive, and
Right.
that's part of being a good parent too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And passing that on, like you said, like to pass it on to my kids, pass it on to your daughter, and in the future is it's encouragement is all it is. Just encouraging and saying I love you and I'm here to support you. You don't want to push them into anything. You just let them do what they want to do, but you
You said
encourage them.
something before we were recording, you're like, uh, "Always talk like you're a little kid." You remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Like say things that just be honest, and it's almost like what do they call it? It's like having like a governor, like having like a little button that kind of you kind of want to go off or something, but you just kind of seize it back, and you're kind of politically correct and stuff. I just think being upfront and honest and saying what you feel is more honorable, and
Even if it's you, like, super pissed
even
off.
if you might not like what I tell you,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
just in the end we're still going to be friends, and it's not like I'm getting irate or this and that, and I'm delivering it in a nice tone. But if I tell you, just saying what you feel is really refreshing, just like a
Yeah,
little kid.
it's we're living in a time of cancel culture where you can't say anything,
Right.
and that's certainly not where you guys come from. In fact, you probably get in a lot of trouble for that
Right.
reason.
Right. Well, and it's just a thing of like, as you get older, you just, I think just more communication and being upfront and honest and, just being true and just a good person. And it's just, I think communication and being honest, about what you
Yeah,
feel.
yeah. Seems
Always.
like a perfect place to wrap it up and,
Yeah.
yeah, say good
Thanks so
night.
much.
So, thanks for
Oh,
making time. This has just been awesome.
I can't believe it. Glad we
Yeah,
got this done.
yeah,
Really
totally.
am. Thank you for
We
having
gotta
me.
get Mike on here. We gotta
I
get,
know. Maddie
Novus,
Moo,
Maddie
Nobis.
Moo.
Oh man, all those guys. They they're ready to go. We just got to kind of pin them down. And
Yeah, I think what I'm starting to recognize is it's about, like, staying true to your vision and not getting lost in all the distractions,
right,
and just like you said, just grinding.
right. And it's like Nobis said it the other day. He's like, we all get caught up. Like, I don't have time to get back to you, or I might not be able to call you. I see you call, but I can't get back to you. I'd take 5 minutes to check back in, or everyone's kind of so caught up with media and life and their routine and their schedule. It's always good to say hi, check in. And I always tell that to Eli. I'm like, dude, if you see anyone that you know, always say hi to them. Say hi, check in, give them a wave, and never just kind of blow someone off. It's like it's not a cool thing to do, and it's good to the friendships that you have. I think we're lucky. Like we have so many good friends, right? People are I bet they don't, certain people around the world or whatever might not have as many like good quality friends that we have gained throughout this journey.
Yeah, and I think actually that's what, the mountains and adventure do is they bring people together
Together.
because you really see what someone's made of out there, and it creates these bonds, and
Bonds.
connections, that
Our lifetime.
yeah,
That
yeah, I mean, what's going on is if you get really scared together, you're gonna
you're
have
gonna you come together. Yeah.
totally, yeah.
And so it's a good thing for people to kind of step outside their comfort zone, and you never
Yeah,
know
just
unless you go.
hope that kids for generations and generations and generations have that same thing. For so long, I've been worried that we're not gonna have, skiing in the future, but I feel like
Mm.
maybe this global weirding thing is actually gonna mean more snow in weird places,
Yeah.
so
I know, and
I'm
it's
gonna
hard. It's
still
easy to
continue.
kind of zoom in on that and get caught up in that, thing like that. But it's yeah. That's we'll get back onto that.
We're getting in the weeds. So,
Yeah. All right.
have a good night, my friend. I'm so
Thanks,
glad we
girl.
got it done, and,
Hey, let's
yeah.
connect again and maybe have another, progression into the next phase
Yeah,
of this
sweet.
story.
Alright,
Cool.
have a good vacation
Thanks.
too.
Hey, thanks, Lynn. I'll check in with you.
Alright, bye, buddy.
All right, girl.